All right, so now continuing with the 9th chapter of Hilchos Psulei HaMukdashim, and as we spoke out, that we started in Perek Shemini, this whole topic of kinim, and we will now continue to learn of various other types of mixtures and the consequences that will happen because of it. This 9th chapter has 7 halachas, beginning with halacha aleph. Suma, if you have an unspecified pair, sheparach mimenu goizel la'avid, that a dove flew out from it, whether the dove stam went out into the world, here it went out into open space, or if it flew into a group of birds, as we learned in the beginning of Perek Shemini, that if you have a chatos that gets mixed with an oila or with a million oilas or vice versa, they have to be put to death. In other words, this bird that flew out now will also have to be put to death. Or if you have a pair that were unspecified, that one of the birds, one of the doves died. So first of all, says that you should take one other to reformulate the pair. In other words, Kevin, you don't have to take 2 new ones. There's no need to buy a new pair. The 2 birds are not intrinsically linked one with the other. You have to simply replace the one that you no longer have. Now, halacha base. What happens if you have, again, the kan sesuma, you have an unspecified pair, and karach lebein hakrevois, and it got mixed into, here's key, into another pair that is not yet specified. So what happens now? So here the Rambam says the rule. Number 1, the dove that flew out, that one, even though we don't know which one it is, but that one is possible. And we'll explain every step. And number 2, upaisel echad kenegdai, and one in this current group will also have a side of the one that flew into it that won't be good. One of its own won't be good. So, for example, the Rambam is going to give this example. If you have 5 pairs here, 5 pairs here, which means 10 birds, a bird from another kan, sasuma, flies into it. How many birds do you have? 11. As we will see, only 9 birds will be good. Because not only does the one that fly in not be valid, but it invalidates one against its one. And that's the rule. Bein hakrevos again means amongst birds that are unspecified, that are undesignated. Pasul, not only is this bird pasul, but a pasul echad kenegdoi keitzad. Keitzad. Here's the example that we gave. Parach goizel men asosum. So let's go to Rachel and Leah. Rachel had 1 pair of birds. That's it. She had 2 birds. They were not specified. They were not designated. One of Rachel's birds flew into la'asara oifrei susumas. Flew into Leah's birds. Leah had 5 pairs or 10 birds. So now you have a total of 11. Now, prior to Rachel's bird flying in there, and for the people that need a coffee, take a coffee, what would have happened? Leah did not designate any of her birds. The kohen would have brought 5 above and 5 below. 5 oila, 5 chatas. Now, the kohen will bring all of them. But let me explain to you that in whichever division he'll do, one of each group won't be valid. So like this. If the kohen now is going to take from the 11 birds, right? Half and half, but you have 11. And he's going to bring 5 for chatos and 6 for oila. So think about it, Yakir. When he brought the 6 above, can we say all 6 are good? Well, it depends. If the 5 was from Leah and the 6 was from Rachel, the answer would be yes, if we would have known that. Because since the Rachel's birds were not specified, so the one for Rachel can do it lo'ela. But we don't know that. When he brought 6 birds, what could it be that all of the 6 birds came from Leah? Leah had 10 birds, but from Leah's 10 birds, only 5 are for oila. As we spoke out in the beginning of the intro, in Perek Shemini, once you bring from someone's pair one la'oila, the other one becomes a designated chatos. So the sixth bird cannot be good. Maybe it belongs to the same woman, to Leah, and Leah only has 5 lamaila. It means the other 5 have to be chatas. You do a maisa chatas lamaila, it's invalid. So from the 6 above, only 5 chamisha lamaila. And now let's go further. What did the Kohen do? The Kohen took from the 11, 5, and he did it for a chatas. Can you say all 5 are good? Absolutely not. Why not? Why not? Only 4 of the chatois are ksheros. You can't say all 5 are good. Why? Because Sha'ani Yoimer, Shema, Hagoizel, Hapoireyach, Hu Echad Mahachamisha Shalomata. And what's the rule, Yakir? That the bird that flew in there is puzzle. Now let me explain to you. Why is that bird puzzle? Why is that bird puzzle? Why didn't we say that bird, if the 5 belong to Leah, they're good. If that bird belonged to Rachel, let it be good for Rachel. No, because halacha aleph of this chapter. Because when Rachel lost her bird, what's the din? When Rachel has 2 birds and one of them flew away, all Rachel needs to do is buy one other and make it into a pair. It means Rachel has a pair. When Rachel will bring the pair, if she will bring one lamata, then this bird becomes invalid. You know
what does it become? Unspecified.
I'll tell you better. The bird of Rachel is puzzled. Because since, that even better, I said better. Since when Rachel loses one bird, that's halacha aleph. All Rachel needs to do is buy one other. This one becomes invalid. So forget about it. This one is invalid. So therefore, what's going to happen?
It's invalid because it doesn't have another bird to make it a pair.
Very good. That's the pshat. Yeah, not because the other bird became a oila. This is a chatos or chatos oila. It's invalid because this word was replaced. So once it's replaced, it's invalid. Once it's invalid, it's automatically going to invalidate from the new group. In other words, Leah had 10 birds, Yakir. Into the 10 birds flew in 11. How many from these 11 will be good? 9. Even if the Kohen brings all of 6 above, 5 below, or 6 below and 5 above, like we explained, from each group, -1 will be good. So that's -2. So 11 became 9. The same thing. Same thing. Very good. A good correction. In other words, the one that might have been Rachel's is invalid, period. And we don't know where it is. Shema hagoyzem hachamisha shalomayla. Nimsa hakosher ma'asora, only Tisha. So the Rambam doesn't have to explain. He doesn't say that from the 11 is Tisha. No. He already said that one is not good. One is not good. Even from the original ones, one becomes invalid. If one flew in, one got lost from this group. Okay. So that's the first yesod of this chapter. Now, guys, we're building buildings on top of buildings. So for people that are learning Perek Echad L'Yoyim, right, you have to have in mind what we learned in the previous Perek, and we're going to repeat some klal. The beautiful thing is that everything is very rational. What should make sense? L'chaim, halacha gimel. Now, arba oifes susumin, you have a group of 4 birds. For Kavan's merit, 4 birds means 2 pairs. 4 birds. And they're not designated. Which means the Kohen has the right, he would bring 2 lamaila, 2 lamat. The arba oifes shniyos susumais, and you have another group of the same number, 4 and 4. Now listen to what's going on over here. So if from group, we're going to go Rachel and Leah. Rachel has 4, Leah has 4. From Rachel's 4, 1 flew into Leah. So first of all, what do you have now? You have 3 in Rachel's group, 3, and you have 5 in Leah's. What did we just learn? That from the 5 of Leah's, how many are good? Shkoyach, thank you, 3. Because even though there are 5, one of them is B'chlal not good, it's not from that group. That's puzzle. So there's only 3. So now it's only 3 and 3. Puzzle echel ben hashliyos. Now, okay, that we already established. But now let's go further. What do you think the birds, if they manage to go from Rachel to Leah, they can't go back? Now, if Achar shenis arvu, after this mixture happened, From the group of 5, one of them flew back to the group of 3. So what do we have now again, Kevin? What do we have if someone were to count? 4 and 4. But we don't know if the original one flew back.
You have 2 and 2.
Goyach. Someone is salting cup. So again, and it's every time it happens, you lose a bird. The nimsa comes out, like you said, Kevan, that kosher shtayim bilvad. And how many is from the second group that Rambam doesn't have to write? Also only 2.
2.
Only because if you only had 3 kosher ones, Yakir, you see like this, if you had 3 kosher ones, if we would have, there's 5 birds, but 3 are kosher. If we would have known that the bird that flew out was from the 2 that are not kosher, then you would have 3 kosher. But we don't know that. Could be that there were 5, but from the 5, only 3 are good. 1 flew out. Maybe one of the 3 flew out. Because we have to be certain that it's good. That's the whole point. If there's a possibility it's not good, it's not good. So you have 2 and 2. And now Lacha Dalet. The beauty of this chapter is that we're going to continue to learn scenarios based on the same Yesod. Unlike yesterday, we had many different cases, even though we're going to come back to some rules we learned in the Pedic Shmi. Now, now the Rambam says like this, don't think that if this keeps on happening, you're going to lose everything. We're going to speak out why. At this point in this example, it can't get worse. Some people say, oh, it can be worse. It can't get worse, which is a good thing. Which means that even if now, so first of all, the Mitzias, you have 4 and 4. But we said, no. From Rachel, only 2 are good. From Leah, only 2 are good. What happens if Nachamol, a bird flew from the physical 4, in which only 2 are good, fighted, 1 flew back into Leah? It's not going to make it worse. Even if it keeps on flying back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, at least from Rachel's group, 2 will be good. From Leah's group, 2 will be good. And the Rambam will explain why. We'll speak out why. Afilu kol hayoim ein moisif lahafsid yasad al zeh. You don't keep on losing. Shafilu hey ma'iravis kulam zu bezu. The Rambam says gewaldig. Now this is what we learned in Pedic Ches Halacha Hey. What did we learn in Pedic Ches Halacha? If you Pasha can go back. So the case there was not in Halacha Vav where it was this similar number, but when they were similar number. Mamish, this case, 4 and 4. If Rachel had 4 and Leah has 4, each one has 2 pairs, and they get mixed up all together. Forget about flying back and forth. They get mixed up together. So what did the Rambam paskin? I'm going to go back and read the halachim. I'm reading Pedic Ches Halachei. Whether they belong to one person, whether they're coming from the same reason, it doesn't matter what was machayev. Whether one person or 2 people, the psagdin was mechza kosher or mechza pasol. Because I'll tell you why. You think about it. You have how many birds, guys? You have 8 birds. From these 8 birds, how many have to be la'oila? 4. So theoretically, bring 4 on top. The only reason why you can't bring 4 on top is because since you don't know which one belongs to which one, once he takes 2 la'oila, see, each one had 2 la'oila, right? Each one had 4, which means each one had 2 la'oila. Let's say the coin is beginning with 1. Once he takes 2 la'oila, when the coin takes any 3rd bird, what are we afraid? What might be? That this 3rd bird belongs to the same person. If it belongs to the same person, every person only had 4. Once you do 2 la'oila, what does it automatically do? It designates the other 2 lachatas. The chatas has to be lamata. But for 2, no matter who it belongs to, you're vadai covered. So you can end up bringing 2 lamailo, 2 lamata. Beautiful. Shafilu hey meravis kulam zu bezu. Mechza kosher or mechza pasal kamay shebiyanu. So I don't care that they're not all mixed together. The kohen will take from everyone's group 2. And what will he do with this 2, Yakir? 1 lamaila, 1 lamata. From the other group, 1 lamaila, 1 lamata. That means he'll end up from both together bringing 2 as a oila, 2 as a chatos, and the other ones will not be allowed to be brought. What's your question? No question. Yaron came as a mitten. We're learning what it says in Pirkei Avot, Gufei Halachot. It's gavaldik. Okay, now gavaldik in a moment. Now the Rambam is going to make life very exciting. And don't be intimidated. Just make a l'chaim. So now it was simple, right? 4 and 4. Then we had in the last chapter, what was the other case in Halacha Vav? It was 6 and 4, I think, right? Yeah. It was 6 and 4. Now we're gonna have a real juicy case.
This one you have to write down.
I think the logic is so clear, the way that Rambam organizes it, that you'll see even people like us without writing down, you'll chap what the Rambam is saying. Imam fits. So I guess tzibur echad yesh bo shtei yorfes. Tzibur, for some reason we're calling it a tzibur or a group. It's a group. It's called a cane. And guys, this is unspecified. To make it clear, Yakir, you have an unspecified group of one person. 2, let's say, belongs to the Uven. Then Shimon, Ubasheni, Shimon has another group, but of 4 birds, which means of 2 pairs. Then the third, Levi, has 6. Revi, Shmoina. People are starting to sweat now. Ubachamishi, Yasara. Everyone has 2 additional birds. Ubashishi, Shnei Masar. And thank God we're stopping Kol HaShvi and Chavivin. Ubatzibur Shvi, Arba Asar. You got it, guys? You have 7 groups. Each one has 2 more than the one prior to it. What will be the case? All based on the rule that we learned in this chapter. A bird is going to fly out from group 1 into group 2. Then a bird of group 2. We don't know whether it's the same one. It's going to go from 2 into 3. You have to take a picture of Yakir's face from 3 into 4, 4 into 5, 5 into 6, 7. And then they're going to fly back.
So at the first time, each one disqualifies 2.
Very good. That's it. So he's going to go. We're going to go through the rules. And what we learn now, we'll just apply it. That's why you don't know. It sounds complicated, but we have the klal. We have the rule. Now, uparach goizel min harishayna l'shniya, which means in first group, how many birds do you have now? 1 bird.
1.
How many birds do you have in the second group?
2.
No. You have physically how many birds? 5.
Oh, 5, right. I mean, I'm in 2 left that you can sacrifice.
Good. Elama, from the 5, Yakir, 3 are good. From the 5, only 3 are good. I know that before we're going to qualify how many are good, I'm saying the Gashmias. You had a group of 2, then you have a group of 4. If 1 out of the 2 went into the 4, you have 5 and 1. Now, from this group of 5 now, 1 of the 5, we don't know which one. You get it? Just write down if you need to write down how much is in each group. Guys, in the third group, how many did you have? No, you had 6.
6.
So now you have 7. Okay. Umashlishes l'revis. Umerevias l'chamishes. Umechamishes l'shishes. Umashvil l'shvis. And what did we learn in this chapter so far? What happens? Every group that has 1 from a kansa summa that flew into it, if it began with 4, which means now it has 5, only 3 are kosher. The one that won a number of what flew in is possible. And it invalidates one kenegdo.
What do you do with the extra 1? You can't do 1.5 up and down.
We can't bring it. So we already learned that. We spoke it out in the previous. We said that that's a challenge with birds, that birds are not redeemable. Yomusu. That was the beginning. That's why the Rambam began.
Right,
Once a bird cannot be brought, there's no solution. Now the birds didn't stop, and their owners did not halt up to make a stop of this flying all over the place. V'chazar achar uparach mitzibur l'tzibur, which means they then flew back, but the same way. So one of the group, how much does the 7 have? Just to halt up. The 7 began with 14. Now it's 15. But now the point that Rambam is going to make is that at the end of all this mishugas, every group has the same number. Every group has the same number. Because so like this, the rule is the same. Forget about the fact that when any group had an extra one, that extra is not good, that number. I'm making it, when the second group had 5, one of the 5 is avada, not good. The part is that one of the 4 is not good. Only 3 are good. So when the Rambam is giving a scenario where the bird went from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7, and then a bird from 7 went to 6, and a bird of 6, we don't know which one. At the end, we're back to the same numbers. We're back, each group now has the same number, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. But because it went and it came, or it came and it went, how much did each group really lose now?
4.
No, 2.
No. Wait,
no,
you lost one.
You only say, because that's the thing, Kevin. When there is, let's go to the simple case. When group 1 and group 2, when the Fegele from group 1 is in group 2, that extra number, of course, is invalidated. But aside of that, one of the original became invalidated. We're speaking about the original. Because now in this case, every group has what the numbers that it began with. So every time it loses 1. If it went to the 7th and then it went back, it lost 2. Very good. Now hold on. Now here's the thing. The first group began with 2 birds. How many are valid there? 0. The second group had how many birds? How many are
4.
good now?
2. Well, it's like if it went twice, it's 4. 0 is right.
No. But then that's the Ashia Eila Klum. Why the Shnia has nothing?
Because it's when I came back. 2 each.
No, it's not 2 each. It's 1. I'm saying it's only 1. It's only
So why
1
is it 0?
each. Why is it 1 each? Because when you had 4 and 4, and now you have 5 and 3, so we said that in the group of 5, only 3 are good. I get that. That's because there's an extra one. But once they come back to their original number, it only lost 1. Every trip it lost 1. Group number 2, Yakir had how many birds? 4 birds. Why ein lo klum? Why ein lo klum? No, you're right, guys. You're right.
Each time you subtract 4.
Because you don't know which word flew out. That's what.
That's what I said first, right?
Flew out. Each group, every time, really loses 2. Shkoyach. That's the word. That's what the Rambam wants to say. Which, even though it came back to its original number, maybe the second group has how many Yakir? Has physically 4. But every time a blue flew in,
second group has 4.
You lost 2. Really, you lost 1, but you lost 2. Now, you don't know if the same bird flew out. So all 4 of the Gamal.
You have to subtract 4 from
There we
each
go.
group.
The third group began with how many birds? 6. If you lose 4, how many birds can you bring? 2. And the Shvi'is Yeshla Shnei Masar. Now 1 second. 1 second.
Why is this 7?
That's the beauty. That's another chiddush. In other words, the 6th group began with how much? With 12.
12.
So you deduct 4. So now it only has 8. But think about it. The 7th group, Yakir, what happened?
It had 14.
It had 14. So when the bird flew in, there were physically 15. How many were good?
15 minus 2, 13.
13. And now when the bird flew out, maybe one of the good birds flew out. So how many do you have left? 12. But not 10. 12. That's Gavala. Okay, that's what the Rambam was writing out. Now, hold on. You think the bird stopped? Now they're going back. Now let's make another trip. Chazar echad uparach pam shniyam izulazu. Now this craziness happened again. This is a yishtalshalus over here.
Kill them all. Just kill them all.
Just kill them all. Yeah, Kevin is getting excited. So 1 second. The chazar achar uparach menachlet umin achrenu l'mayla mimenach chazar l'rishayna means it went a 2-way trip again. So the same thing happens again. So now we already, the first 2 groups lost everything. In the previous stanza of Halacha Hey, how many birds did this third group have kosher?
2.
Group 3, it had 2. It lost both. Even the fourth that had 4, we said every time it loses 2. So now the third and the fourth Elam Klum. The fifth group in the previous case remained with 6 good. Now that this happened again, from the 6 you take off 4. So how many do you have left? 2. But here again by the 7th, the 12th, see the beauty of the 7th is losing the least. Because 1 flew in and 1 flew out. So over here, it went from 14 to 12. It's going to go now from 12 to 10. Now let's go on a third trip. Porach pam shlishis goizel mizulazu. V'chazar pam revis mizulazu. So now the 5th that we had until now had 2. The 6th that had 4. Now the 5th and the 6th will lose everything. But the 7th went from 14 to 12. Then it went from 12 to 10. And when this happened again, it went down to 8. Now, how do you bring them?
From the groups that are left?
So he's saying, yeah. Let me explain something. Should you lechatchila bring them? And Rambam is saying that if you're going to, if you brought them, you're going to bring all of them. How many of them will be good? That's the point. And shisha psulim. Finished. Halacha Vav is starting a new case. A new case. Now, see, you have, let's say, Rachel designated unspecified and Leah specified. Now, remember, Peirik Ches, Halacha Aleph. Parach min hasasuma la mefoireshes. What's going to be the din? Can you bring any of the mefoireshes? You cannot. Why not? Because when a bird flies out from a kansasuma, that bird is invalid. When it flew into a new group, you have one bird is invalid. We don't know which one. You can't bring any of them. But Rachel, who had 2 birds, who one flew out, that was the beginning of Peirik Tes. She can salvage at least that bird. Yikach zug lasheni for the original sus. Now you have mixed up ones, right? The mixed up ones we said, Yakir, are not good. Chaza, if the bird returned, now you got a problem. Oi, no, it's when there's a big difference. When birds of a sasuma fly into a sasuma, that's what we learned until now. It doesn't invalidate all of them. It only invalidates one kenegdoi. That was the examples we gave. So if Rachel had 4, Leah had 4. If one from Rachel flew until, if they were both sasumais, Leah didn't lose all of them. She went down to 3. There is physically 5 because there's one extra one. One is pasul, one kenegdoi. But if it goes into a kan mefoireshes, the mixed up group will have to be put to death. Because that's different. Because since they were mefoireshes, in other words, Leah's birds, Leah had 4 birds. 2 of them have to be oila. 1 of them have to be chatas. You have 5 birds. Every bird that the kohen is going to take, you don't know whether it's the oila bird, whether it's this other bird. You don't know. So now that all of them have to be put to death, if one bird now flies back, or forget about it went back and forth. Here also, whenever you have a bird that's already designated and it falls into sasumais, you don't know which one flew in. See, if you know which one flew in, that's what we learned again in Peirik Shmini. If a chatos bird flew into sasumais, right? So we learned the formulas in Peirik Shmini, what to do. It doesn't invalidate all of them. We said that the original number of the chatois, of the sasumais, can be brought because mimanashach. Either it's the chatas that flew in, or it's the chatas from the sasuma. But here it's not that way. Here we're speaking about, you don't know what flew in. You got it? Yakir. That's what we didn't have them Perek Ches. Because if a bird flew into this group and that bird is either already a chatos or an oila, you can't bring any bird. Maybe this is the bird that came. Maybe the bird that came was a chatos. How can you bring it l'mayla? Maybe it was an oila. How can you bring it l'mata? So now you must call it shabastumam because she'im oila nesarva behem kol hachatoy shabapsulas. Im chatos nesarva behem kol oila shabapsulas lefikach imusa kulam. Great.
Now, the worst case scenario is if a group of a specified goes into another group of specified birds, right?
Even if you don't even need that, the point is, you're correct. Then you can't bring anyone. And also, don't forget that Kevan, if a bird from Mifoirashos that we know what it is, means achatos falls into sasumais, that was Perek Ches halacha beis, etc.
Right.
Okay. Now, final case over here. Allah Zajac. Chatas mikan, guys. When we say chatas mikan, we're speaking about three groups. I need for you to smile. It's a mamash simcha day. You have three groups, but every group is of two birds. Just to get that clear. So imagine in front of you, you have two chatois. Both are chatois. However that happened, and then you have from the other side two oilas, and in the middle you have sumos. You have two birds that one will be lachatas, anyone, one oil. Now again, this whole chapter is about birds flying from one place to the other. So if the group in the middle, that's a suma, one flies to the right, one flies to the left, nothing bad happened. Why nothing happened? I'll tell you why nothing happened. Because the middle yakid was unspecified. That means you can still decide, and I don't care which one came first, which you have to know one thing, if in the group on the right, you have three birds, if you're going to make the extra one chatos, so then the other one has to go. You have to do.
Don't you need to get another bird for the first group?
No, you don't, because they're here. We didn't lose them. It didn't fly.
Got it.
You can bring them. Elo yomer. Zeh shalachetz alachatois will be chatos. You'll bring all of them lamata. And all of them lamata taka means that we don't know which one came from the kansa summa. But one of them will be brought. That will make the other one into an oil. Bring the other one oil. But 1 second. Now, chavre, hold your heads. Chazar achashinus arbu. Uparach echad mikan ve'echad mikam le'emtza. Now, instead of you having 3 and 3, a bird from the right went back to the middle. A bird from the left went back into the middle. Now what do we have? The ones to the right is chatas. The ones to the left is oilo. What's the middle? The one in the middle, yakir, is vadai. If you can please stop that. If it can be a chatos and an oilo, the one in the middle has one chatos, one oilo. But we don't know which one is which.
None of them can be brought up.
So Hashnim Amsoim Yamusu. Shareihem chatos ve'elam oirovim. And Vatsudodim are good. But now, if after this happened, so now you have the two birds in the middle that have to be put to death. Now, if one of these birds go back into each side, everyone has to be put to death. Because if in a group you have a bird that has to be put to death, you don't know which bird it is. It's never nullified.
They learn the whole thing. All
right, now, 1 second. Now we're learning the final chapter. We're not done yet. So the 10th chapter of Hilchos Psuli HaMikdashim, just to quickly recap, we're learning the Rambam's Masechtas Kin. We already mentioned that in the Gemara, it's recorded for some reason, the way we have it at the end of Me'ilah, it actually follows the dafim of Me'ilah. Me'ilah daf Chav Beis, Amud Aleph is the siyum of Me'ilah. And then we're Mamshech, the Chav Beis, Amud Beis, I think it's even in the bottom. It's Chav Beis, Chav Gimel, Chav Daled, and the half of Chav Hey. Masechtas Kinim. When we learned it together in the Gemara, we learned Rashi, and as we spoke out, that the Rambam stands alone in his interpretation of those Mishnayos and Perush HaMishnayos, and almost always the Rambam in Yad HaChazaka is going to follow his interpretation of Perush HaMishnayos. So if someone really loves this, as we all should, we all do on some level, the best way of learning this is learning again Masechtas Kinim, learn it good, and then learn the Rambam, and you'll see, and you'll see, and you'll see. Good. This chapter has only 5 halachas. But let me add what we're learning over here. Until now, we're learning about chayvos. Chayvos means whether it's a zav, whether it's a zava, whether it's a yeledes, right, or a mitzvah. Yeah, ani. You have certain people that are obligated to bring a pair. By the way, a yoledes that's could afford doesn't bring a pair of birds. We're going to see in this chapter. Okay, she brings one animal and one bird. But if you can't afford, the common was they would bring two birds. That's called a korban chayva. And whenever it's a chayva, echad la'oila, echad la'chatas. Guys, don't forget, you cannot donate a chatas. Either you're chayav chatas or you're not chayav chatas. But there's another thing. A person can make a neder, can donate a korban oila, a bird. You can donate a bird oila. And by the way, you can donate one bird, but you can donate a pair. The word kan or cane could be as a donation, but if it's a neder, if it's a cane of a neder or an adava, won't be echad lachatas, echad oil. It's going to be two oilers. Remember, a donation can only be an oil. Now, finally, when you bring a chatas, when you bring a chayva, both birds have to be from the same species. And there are only two species that are kosher for karbanos of birds, chaydim or b'nei yoina. So if I'm a zav, and I did the count, a zav gedoyla, for which I have to bring karbanos on the 8th day on, either I'm going to bring two chaydim or two b'nei yoina. Echad lachatas v'echad oil. If I make a neder to bring two birds, since I can make a neder to bring one, I can make a neder to bring two, and they can be from two different types. So I can bring one toid, one b'nei yoina, because I can just bring one. Now you have to add it into the mixtures. So now we're going to have in this chapter, which is only 5 halachas, but fastening the seatbelts, there's going to be another complication, which is there's a mixture between the toid and b'nei yoina. We don't know which one has to be brought. We'll see. Let's begin. This is just an example. A woman is pregnant. And we're speaking about a woman, guys, that will end up only bringing two birds. Just to make that clear. But while she's pregnant, she is a Sfardish woman. So she says, God is good. She's not even saying if. When God will give me a son, I'm making a separate standalone neder. What's my neder? I'm going to bring a cane. What does a cane mean? Two. Which means when she gives birth, what does she have to bring, Yakir? She has to bring the chiyuv of, if she's not wealthy, of two birds, echad lachatas ve'echad la'oila. But she made a pledge. Her pledge will obligate her to bring another two. But those two can only be an oila. And indeed, Yalda Zachar, Mevia Arba Oifes. If an Ashkenazic woman that's pregnant says that when I give birth to a girl, I'll bring a cane. Same thing. Point is you made a neder. Now, the problem is like this. This example is given, not the problem. The challenge is that Kohanim know when you get birds, half above, half below. Oila, chatos. But here you have a case where a coin will be given 4 birds, but really 3 have to go up and only 1 down. Oh. Now, the Rambam, right, said in Maisa HaKorbanos that a bird korban can only be brought either lachatas or la'oila. The Rambam in Maisa HaKorbanos, Perek Yudalid, already said that you cannot make a neder a chatos. Chatos you can only bring if you're chayv to bring it. So that's the meaning. So in other words, if it's coming beneder, it has to be an oila. Ushnaim lechayvasa mishum leida. And the 2 that are coming from a chayv is echad oila v'echad chatos. Nimsas lameid. That really, which is unusual because normally when a coin is given 4 birds, when a coin is given 8 birds, when a coin is giving 50 birds, he already knows half above, half below. But that's why he made a mistake. Because he didn't ask her. You know what was common? It was common that women didn't go to the Beis HaMikdash whenever. They only went when they could. So it could be a woman would come to the Beis HaMikdash. She already had 6 children. She would bring 12 birds. He doesn't know. He didn't ask her. So what has to happen? What do you think happened over here? He brought shtayim l'mayla, v'shtayim l'mata. So what's missing? So step number 1 is simple. He only made one mistake. What was his one mistake? One that was an oila. One that was an oila, he brought lachatas. We don't know which one. I don't care. What is she missing to fulfill the pledge? One oila. It begins simple. That it's that simple that all you need to do to compensate is to bring one. Is b'sheheviyah ha'arba'a mimin echad. That's what we said in the introduction. All four that she brought was toidim, or all b'nei yoina. Shehoyu kulam toidim or b'nei yoina. So the only mistake was that one that should have been brought la'oila was brought lachatas. So that one was invalid. So she owes one oila. But avalam hoyu shtei toidim im shtei b'nei yoina. But also shtayim lamayla. Shtayim lamayla means yakir. He brought both of the toidim lamayla, and both of the b'nei yoina lamata. Now let's review. When a woman has to bring a choiva or a man, the choiva, not the neder yakir, the choiva has to come from the same type. That means if I bring echad la'oila ve'echad lachatas, they both have to be toidim or both b'nei yoina. If the kohen knows that he brought the toidim lamayla and the b'nei yoina lamata, so what's missing over here?
One of them is wrong. One that should have gone up went down, or vice versa.
The chatos was covered, but we have to make a shidduch of that type for the choiva. So not only does she have to bring one more for her neder, which was the first stanza of halacha aleph, she has to bring one
of the same bird.
And b'nei yoina lamata. So aside of what we had in the first stanza of halacha aleph, that she owes one for her neder, she owes one. She owes one for the choiva. She owes one lamaila. It should be equal to the one lamata, but she only has to bring one for that. Tzricha lahavi oid toir uben yoina. She's going to bring de facto a toir and a b'nei yoina. She's going to offer both lamaila. And that will, she has to bring two more, but the two should be one toir, one b'nei yoina, and like miman of shach. She'im asa batchila shtei hatoirim lamata. If when the kohen brought the two toirim lamata, so now, guys, halt up. One toir lamata was invalid. One toir was lechayvasa. But the first one lechayvasa is machayev for to bring a toir la'oila. So she owes one toir la'oila. And she also has to bring a bird, we said, for her neder. Any bird. That's why if she brings one toir and one b'nei yoina, she covered all the bases. Then tzricha ben yoina l'mayla hashum chayvas. She'ein adam mevi chayvasai goizel echad toir echad. Your neder could be that way, but not your nedava. So in other words, first of all, two things. Number one, in the second case of halacha aleph, she has to bring two more oilers, but it can't be stam. It has to be one toid and one b'nei yoina. Now, no matter what, she's good. Now let's go further. We're going back to the original case. The original case is you have a woman who's pregnant, who's saying that if I'll give birth to a zachar, if I'll have a baby boy, then I'm going to bring a cane. I'm going to bring a pair, which means I'm going to bring two bird oilers. That's it. But if when she gave to the kohen the four birds, she told him which one is for which, that makes it worse. And what happened? Also, shtayim lamato, and v'lo yodam. So now, what's the chashash? I'll tell you what happened over here. Maybe, Yakin, the two oilos, both oilos that she designated oila, both of them, maybe the kohen did it lamato. So in the beginning of halacha aleph, we said she only owes one bird for the nadava. Here I can argue that maybe Yakin, both oilos nadava Both, she designated them as this is my nedava. Could be he brought puntos to her lamata. So now, what does she have to do? Means he brought 4 birds, but how much do you have to compensate? First of all, shnayim lenidra, like we said, because maybe she designated which one should be the both oilas ladava. Maybe they were both brought lamata.
Why not just go to the
one second. And the echad lahashlim chayvasa. What's the echad lahashlim chayvasa? Because that's what we learned in what's lahashlim chayvasa. One is for sure good. Why is one for sure good? Because miman afshach. Why? One second, guys. Why only one for her chayva? Because the kohen brought shtayim lamaylo, shtayim lamata. So if he brought the two nedavos lamata, which is what we're saying, why you have to bring both nedavos, then what would it mean? It would mean that the other two were for her chayva. One of them is la'olam, which was brought if both oilas were lamata, so the chayva was brought lamayla. So what does she owe? She owes 1 lamata, so she has to bring 3. Now, by the way, I have over here via also ashloisha lamayla. This is a mistake. 2 of them have to be above. 2 of them have to sharei pershanidra. And the third has to be brought yakir lamata. Like we said, the third has to be brought lamata.
How many total is she bringing?
She brought 4. She has to bring 3. Another 3. Now we're not done yet. That these 3 will suffice. The kohen now will have to offer 2 more lamayla and 1 lamata. Is b'shehivi or ha'arba sheperish nidra b'shnayim mehem mimin echad. Aval, but if in the case over here she brought shtei minim, and let's say, and she designated, so Yakir, she said, just add that nuance. She brought to the kohen, let's say 2 toidim. Let's say, and she tells the kohen, and these 2 toidim should be done for my neder. Maybe the kohen brought both of those toidim lamata. So now she cannot get away by bringing only 3. Now she has to bring 4. Like we said, the 2, if she said toidim, maybe the 2 toidim that she gave the kohen brought lamata, so they have to be. That's like in the beginning of halacha beis. But now shnayim me'ezem min shetirtzi yelechevasa. V'yasu echad lamayla ve'echad lamata. Because if she brought the 2 bnei yoina of her chayva lamayla, she didn't have to fill her chatas. See, we don't know if the 2 bnei yoina of her chayva was done lamayla. So she brought the toir, 2 toidim lamata. If she brought 2 toidim lamata, what does she have to compensate? 1 toir lamayla. But maybe she brought both. Maybe she brought the bnei yoina. In other words, she's missing whichever one was for the chayv. If she brought both of them, either lamayla or lamata, then you're missing that half. Gewaldig. So v'yaso echel lamayla v'echel lamata. Now we're not done yet. Chava nidrava amra, for a woman to find which ones of the doves should be used for a vow by saying, listen to this case. V'yolda. V'hevia arba oifos, shnayim l'nidr shnayim l'chevasa. And also on the coin process, he doesn't know anything. And here we add another nuance. She forgot and she doesn't remember what was her pledge. She said, "Shtei toidim." She doesn't remember now. So what are we afraid, Yakir? We are afraid that whichever one she designated for her chayv, they were both brought lamata. Let's begin with that. That's the simple thing. In other words, she owes, what does she owe?
4 more.
Her pledge. We don't know what she pledged. She only has to bring 2, but maybe 2 Taitim, maybe 2 Bnei Yoina. So first she has to bring 4 birds just to cover her pledge. And all of them have to be done l'mayla. And now, v'tavi goizel echad lahashlim chayvasa. Doesn't matter which species, and that has to be done l'mayla. Shekfar asa shtayim lamata. Guys, take out the words chatas. That's a mistake. In other words, since she brought the oilois l'mayla, look how many birds came l'mayla. If you are going to bring any, you're gonna bring any goizel. V'tavi goizel echad lahashlim chayvasa. Because since she brought shtayim lamata, no. Okay, so the girsa has to be via asul lamata. Via asul lamata.
God, can you do this one over again?
It's not. So that has to be. I have to change that. We have to change that gears. Yes. Has to be done lamat. Because again, really, please. What's missing is a chatas. What's missing is a chatas l'chayvas. Because in other words, don't forget the beauty of the chayva is yakir. I don't care if the chayva is treidim or bnei yoina. I don't care that. What I do want. No. 1 second. What I do want is that whichever type came lechayvasa l'mayla, that should be done lamata. No, this has to be done. It has to be done lamata because she's bringing now 4 birds l'mayla. When she's bringing 4 birds l'mayla, only 2 of the 4 is lechayvasa. She for sure covered a chayva because they're all brought for oilus. She brought 2 times 2 bnei yoina, but 2 of them were not needed for her netted. No, the 4 for the netted. So since 2 of them, so whichever one was not needed for her netted, whichever one's l'mayla can be used chayvasa, and that one is brought lamata. In other words, the only one that she did not cover was the chatos. When it comes to the oila, see, that's the point. Okay, very good. When it comes to the oila, she for sure will fulfill her obligation. Because if what the kohen brought originally, if he got the right type, l'mayla,
question when you can, Rabbi.
1 second. Let's just speak it out over here. If okay. The nether doesn't go lamata. The nether can only go lamayla. Oh, very good. She doesn't have to bring a bird la'oilas ha'chayva. She zicher does not have to bring a bird la'oilas chayva because the oilas chayva was covered the first time. The oilas chayva was covered the first time. She only made a pledge to bring one group as an edit. And that has to go lamayla. Now the kohen did shtayim lamayla. So either those shtayim already covered the choiv lamayla. She has to bring she's bringing now lanadaba. She's bringing 4 birds lanadaba. So either the original already covered the oila of her chayiv, then, or it's covering it now. The oila of her chayiv is being covered very good. Mimanavshach. The only thing she has to compensate is the chatos. The only one she has to compensate. Yes. So therefore, she has to bring 4. Yes. What were you asking, Kevin?
All right. There should be no point that if you bring 4 and they're all mistaken, you should have to bring more than 4.
Yes,
let's say you brought 2 and
yes, there is, because the problem is that when she made the pledge that I'm going to bring, if I give birth to a son, she pledged either Treidim or Bnei Yoina. She didn't have to say that, but she said that, and she doesn't remember what she said. So now, just for the pledge, she has to bring 4.
Okay.
On top of that, when she gives birth, she's mechuyev to bring echad l'mayla ve'echad l'mata.
Oh, got it.
Okay, now,
got it.
that she has to bring 5, and that will be enough. If the originally she brought from one type. So therefore, she for sure covered, that's the word, Yakir, she for sure covered the oilam. She for, and it, well, guys, important. And the Kohen knows he brought either both Toidim Lamaila and Tu B'nai Yoina Lamata, or opposite. That's very important. If it was Shtei Minim and the Kohen brought only from one type Lamaila, one type Lamata, how many birds have to be brought now? 6.
That's what I was asking, right?
Why 6? Like this. We said, because could be what the Kohen brought originally, he didn't bring from the type that she pledged. That means her nether was not fulfilled. Since she doesn't remember what her nether is, even though she pledged to bring 2, but she doesn't remember, she bring 4. Now, because since we don't know what was brought Lamaila, what was brought Lamata, since you don't know what was brought Lamaila, what was brought Lamata, you don't know that. Now you have to compensate. 2. But she said Toidim. She said Toidim, or she said B'nai Yonah, and she does not remember. And we are afraid that from the birds that she brought originally, the ones of her vow, both of them were done Lamata. Both of them, now guys, remember, if both of them were done Lamata, then that was not good at all.
It doesn't cover her chovi.
1 second.
Right?
And the other 2 that were done Lamaila, one is good. So l'chayra, why can't you just bring 1 against that? Because maybe, very good. So for that scenario, you have to bring 1 Lamata. But what happens if she brought the 2 of her pledge were done properly? Which means the other 2 that were brought were for her chayva. One of them was done lamata. Not the other one lamata was wrong. For that you have to bring 1 lamaila gavaldik. So you have to bring 1 lamaila, 1 lamata. Gavaldik. Now v'chein im nisonatem l'koyin. If she gave it to a koyin, v'shak chamash nasna loy. V'alach a koyin v'asav any day hecha. So let's go compounding. She made the same case of the beginning of this chapter. She made a pledge to bring a neder, and she said what type. She forgot what type she pledged. On top of that, she gave to the Kohen Yakir 4 birds of the same type, but she doesn't even remember what she gave to him. And now the Kohen doesn't know where he did it. Kohen doesn't remember. Maybe he did Hakol Lamaila, Makol Lamato, or Imersel Lamato. So what has to happen? So again, whenever you don't know whether you fulfilled your nether, if you were Kaiveya your nether, how much do you have to bring?
4.
And now, like we said before. Okay. Halacha Dalit. Now we're going to have the case, the highest case, where you have to bring 7. So this is the instigate kaven. Oh, she was only chayv to bring 2 birds. She took upon herself a neder to bring 2 more. So she brought 4, but it's shayich that she'll have to bring 7. How was that? Number 1, chava chayvasa. Chava chayvasa means, just to make that clear, that like we mentioned, if a woman is wealthy, the chatos is always a bird. Chatos is always a bird. The oila is a keves. Now another din, I have to say like this, that even if a woman is an aniyah, if she is koiveya yakid, I'm going to bring a keves la'oila, she'll be yotzer her chayv. So she doesn't even remember that detail. Now there's a new doubt. Maybe she was koiveya to bring the carbon of a yoledas hashira, for which you have to bring an animal. Sie gedenkt nicht. The kava nidra, another detail that was not needed. When you make a neder, you can bring both Toiden, both Bnei Yoina, 1-1, but she said either or. And now in other words, what did we added one? Instead of having the 6 in the 2 cases of the end of Gimel, we have another doubt. What's the other doubt? Maybe she has to bring an animal. Maybe that was her commitment. Could be she committed to that. Even though she gave 4 to the coin. So how can she fulfill her obligation? It's very simple. She has to bring first 6 birds. Why 6 birds? Because she made a vow. Both of them have to be lo'oila. She doesn't remember whether it's Torah b'nei Yoina. So to cover her vow, arban l'nidra, then she gave birth. You have to bring 2 birds. Shtaim l'chayvas. So how many are we up
lamb
to?
offering.
We're up to 6. Now, v'oy tavi chatos achas ben Yoina oy tar with the lamb. In other words, forget about it. Aside of you having to bring an animal, you have to bring 7 birds. Why do you have to bring 7 birds? Because when the woman says, okay, I'm going to bring 6, 4 to cover my neder, yakir, and 2 to cover my choiv. No, you can't do that. You can't bring 2 and an animal. You can't say miman avshach. The 2, echad lo'elav, echad l'chatas. If she said she's going to bring a korban, which is an aniyah, then those 2 would cover it. But since could be she said she's going to bring the karbanis of a wealthier woman, you have to bring another bird with the lamb. Nimsa shevia shiva oifais. And if you remember at the end of Masechta Skinim, the Mishnah said a gavaldik expression that when the sheep is alive, the sheep has 1 sound. What happens when you shech the sheep? So they used to use from the remains of the animal, they used to make instruments. So 1 sound becomes 7. 1 can become 7. What was the 7? Remember, the two horns are 2 trumpets, the 2 sides are 2 flutes. The skin is a drum. The large intestines is for the larger string instruments. The small intestines is so you have two, the drum, and again 1 and 1 different types of strings. Us to 7. That's the 7 koilos over here. That it's shayach that this woman will have to bring 7 birds. And now the Rambam concludes like this: whenever you bring, see, there's another detail just to go to everything that we learned. The beauty of a oila is that an oila is allowed to be brought as a donation. What did we learn in this chapter? The woman brought karbanos, but maybe she fulfilled her obligation. I know maybe she didn't, but maybe she did. The reason why she's b'chlal allowed to make up is because we say, if she's chayiv, in the worst case, she has to make up for the worst case scenario. But if she was already exempted, and now she's bringing another 2 birds, 4 birds, 6 birds, 7 birds, we say miman avshach. Let's go to the oila. If she's obligated because of her chayiv, because of her neder, this is for that chayiv or neder. And if not, it's a new donation. So the oila is not a problem. Now chatos generally is a huge problem because a chatos cannot be brought ala safik. Because if you're not chayiv, we said you cannot pledge a chatos, and it's chulun lazara. It's not a chatos. How are you allowed to do it? You're not allowed to do it. The beauty thing is that Hashem says that when it comes to bird chatos, a bird chatos can come ala safik, which is great. That's why there's a solution. So if she already fulfilled her obligation, then she's taken that mechuyev. But if she did not fulfill her obligation, then she's mechuyev. So we have a suffix, bring the bird chatos, but we have to remember one thing. What's the one thing? That what part of the bird chatos can be brought to the suffix? The melika part, the avoida part. But a bird chatos is also eaten by a kohen. That's a whole different thing. A kohen cannot eat it. Why cannot a kohen eat it? Because if you were not chayiv to bring this as a chatos, the act of melika, if not in the context of a korban, makes the animal into an avela. You're not shechting the bird. So the rule is that a suffix chatos so'if could be brought. Thank God, that helps us solve all of these issues. But don't forget, it cannot be eaten because when it comes to eating, maybe you were not chayiv. If you were not chayiv, then the animal is an avela. How can you eat it? So v'chol chatois so elu einom necholois v'pnei shem suffix. They're brought. They covered the suffix, so this woman will fulfill her obligation. But if I guess nish that essen nish, you're not allowed to eat it, guys. A big mazel tov for the conclusion of these 3 chapters.
Question? You have a second?
Yes.
How about the last case in number 4? She's basically bringing 8. except that one of them is a lamb.
Yeah,
right?
yes.
To cover all bases, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's because of a doubt. A bird and lamb, they go together.
Because she specified two things. One was concerning the chayv,
And the other one, the neder.
even though she's poor. If she said, I'm going to bring from a ashira, she has to do that. And when she made the vow, she specified Tleidim or B'nai Yoina, and she doesn't remember which one she specified.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.